possible terms. These attacks have nothing or are nothing less than a declaration of war against Black working class people who happen to come predominantly from other countries on the African continent. Charles Phahla, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the program. Charles, are you there? Charles, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning, welcome. And you are obviously the national organizer for GIWUSA, the home for the working class. And you are and your organization are denouncing all forms of xenophobic violence. Talk to us.
Yeah, look, this issue I think is more caused by the capitalist class who wants to divide the African people so that they can continue in terms of oppression and make more profit and dividing the African nation so that we cannot defeat capitalism as its form. You agree with me that you have other nations from America, Greece, Italy, Germany, who come here in South Africa, but there are no issues. The issues then come to our own Black brothers. Then the focus shifts from war against capitalism, and the war becomes Africans unto themselves, fighting amongst each other, and then creating hatred and making sure that the very same poor people are the ones who suffer most.
Charles, you have to agree that the EFF that went around to a shopping mall last week to go and check out the ratio of foreign workers as against local workers hasn't helped your situation at all, has it? In fact, if anything, it seems to have stoked xenophobic tendencies amongst local people.
Yeah, look, I don't think we need to look at the ratios. Africans are Africans. They've got the right to live in Africa. They've got the right to work in South Africa. They've got the right to come here. They belong here. Therefore, the issues of ratios to me is out of question. So that's why we come in publicly condemning any form of tribalism, any form of xenophobic behavior, any form of fighting amongst ourselves as African brothers, and we are calling on the public to treat African brothers as our brothers and sisters, and supporting each other, being united, so that our cause in terms of fighting capitalism continues.
Now, you also go on to say that the silence of the state and its relevant structures, from local government to provincial government, all the way up to the president, is a very serious indictment on our democracy.
Yes, I mean, the state is supposed to come up in public and denounce such behavior, because if you remember, during the apartheid era, the very same government through the ANC was in exile. They were in Tanzania, in Lusaka, Zambia, Maputo, all over Africa, supported by the African state to defeat apartheid. Now, come into South Africa, the very same government just keeps quiet while the very same African brothers who supported the struggle for liberation in the country are now being attacked. I mean, you then think that there is, inverted commas, that this is an organized thing to shift the blame to the government and shift that blame to the African brothers, and therefore the responsibility of the government is nowhere.
Okay, there's also a lot of focus on foreign truck drivers, and you, as GIWUSA and People's Coalition Against Xenophobic, call on workers to denounce these acts of barbarism. As the leaders of GIWUSA, you also commit to eradicate xenophobia and all forms of racism in South Africa. There's also the issue. Uh, this year, the state chose to not renew the Zimbabwe exemption permits, which has deemed hundreds of thousands of working class Zimbabweans who have made a life in South Africa and contribute to our communities and our local economies as illegal. Where do we stand on these issues?
Yeah, look, I mean, to me, the issue of racism, tribalism, uh, as a union, we totally against, and we are saying our African brothers from Zimbabwe, in fact, they should not, they and they should not be sent away as they've been here for some time. They earning a living here. They contributing to the economy. The as workers, we need to unite against such behavior of tribalism and racism, and make sure that we are united to fight the cause.
And again, you're saying that government has failed the people because instead of addressing the crisis directly, uh, for example, investing in a mass public works program that would create well paid, sustainable jobs, the ruling party continues its drift towards right wing politics by attacking migrant workers. For example, the whole
Yeah,
Clover strike situation. That's a classic case in a classic example. The Clover strike situation.
yeah. Look, I think the government failed the workers, and the workers is a time that the workers must stand up and unite in African workers and international. I can give an example of the Clover situation whereby Melco, which is a consortium of from Israel, where the people of Palestine are being harassed by the Israel government, which is an apartheid state, come into South Africa, claiming to have what you call a good investment. They are now vandalizing the industry in South Africa, making a lot of job losses. The very same government who is saying they support the people of Palestine, but they allow they allow the very same company from Israel to to come to South Africa. Hence, we are calling for disinvestment in terms of such companies. And they most of these multinationals, they talk a good language to say we'll be creating jobs, but what we are seeing the opposite. Most workers are just retrenched left, right, center. They cutting salaries of workers. they are not monitored by the very same state organs like the competition commission, uh, and you complain to the same commission of the government, they don't have answers, and they just like incompetent.
So, Charles, what about recommendations that was made by GIWUSA and other such parties way back in 2009, which called on the Department of Justice and Constitutional Department to account for the failure of the National Action Plan to eradicate racism and xenophobia, and to be implemented by all departments of the state. You are of the opinion that this call has been ignored by the state, and that is why we're sitting in this situation and position we're sitting in today. And that is why we're having all of this violence and instability happening around us.
Yeah, look, that hence they are saying and calling for the government to say, as organs of state, you are the one who was supposed to be looking at these issues of racism, these issues of xenophobia, and making sure that this does not happen again. But he, the government is not coming to the party in terms of making sure that they implement the recommendation.
You've also called on the state to establish mechanisms that can trigger responses when there are such outbreaks of xenophobic violence. That hasn't happened yet, has it? Because whenever we see outbreaks of xenophobic violence, it seems as if SAPs don't want to intervene and just turn a blind eye to these situations.
Yeah, and we are so disturbed because the very same people who are perpetrating xenophobic violence have got what you call uh, a program which is publicized, which is on the news, which is on the papers, but nothing is happening to make sure that the state uh, come out here and say this should stop here, this should stop now. They just do as they wish, as if there's no government, and government keeping quiet. No one from the justice ministry denouncing that. No one from the presidency. No one from all departments. It's just like it's business as usual. And these are issues which the government should have plan for such act, and if such act comes up, then they should be stopped immediately.
So you're not being heard by government or any government organ for that matter. It seems that the only language understood in South Africa is taking to the streets in protest. Are you planning some such thing? Do you think you'll get mass mobilization and support from the people on the ground against xenophobia?
Yeah, that's what we are hoping, and we are going to campaign and make sure that we call on all the organizations, the progressive forces in this country to unite and have one voice, go to the
Okay, that's where we leave it, Charles. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. You're breaking up there, but thank you for sharing the fact that GIWUSA denounces all forms of xenophobic violence totally and utterly. And there is a possibility, if government doesn't come to the tables, GIWUSA is going to take to the streets in protest against xenophobia in a very, very big way. Thank you. Keep up the great work. Till the next time, as always, go well. It is exactly 9:44 a.m. right here on Salam Media.